Hey, how's it going, everybody? Today I'm going to be going over some of my custom figures in my collection. We're going to be starting off with the Avengers that I have going on. I do not have Hawkeye or Black Widow, so for now I just thought I'd add in Moon Knight and Spider-Man just to complete a nice little lineup of 6. So starting off with Captain America, this is the Mafex Captain America. I think it's a phenomenal figure, genuinely probably one of my all-time favorite figures just in terms of paint, sculpt, articulation, accessories. It's just a phenomenal release from Mafex, which is my personal favorite brand. And for this figure, I really didn't do too much. I had started off just by putting a little bit of a wash on the lips just to bring out that skin tone a little bit more. I feel like that was probably the weakest point of the figure, was just having a little bit of paint distinction. There was also an issue on the abdomen section. One of the stripes is misaligned, so I did repaint that. For this Captain America, like I said before, the articulation was fantastic. All I did was just kind of increase the articulation in the abdomen section, and there's a ton of tutorials like this on YouTube. I don't think I need to go through it extensively, but it's pretty much just cutting away some of the plastic around where the joint sockets are, just so you could push the range a little bit more. And next up, we have the Marvel Legends Maximum Series Spider-Man. This figure underwent a few pretty cool modifications. The head is the Mafex head with a little bit of a tweak to the paintwork on the eyes. I did also change the blue paint to a metallic blue. I just really wasn't happy with the blue on the figure out of the box. Additionally, I wasn't too pleased with how shiny the figure was, so I did put a matte varnish over the figure on the red parts and a gloss varnish over the metallic blue to really kind of separate those two colors quite a bit. But even with the articulation being a little bit better than normal, it is still a Hasbro figure, so it has a lot of limitation. And Mafex being my favorite brand, I like when a figure can move as close to a Mafex as possible if it's not from Mafex themselves. So I did increase the head tilting on the neck joint by cutting away some of the inner plastic. As far as modified head sculpts go, like I said before, I did give this one the heads from the Mafex 185 Spider-Man. So again, I just really thickened up that black outline of the lenses, and I really kind of squinted it and narrowed it a little bit more so he looks even more determined, focused, angry, whatever you want to call it. And then I also have the Peter Parker head sculpt, which looked awful out of the box. The head shape was weird, the eyes were yellow, and he had this really weird kind of thing going on with paintwork under his eyes. So scraped that off, repainted the eyes, reshaped the head, and it was a good head sculpt after that. So I'm not too upset about it, and I do use it occasionally on the figure when I take some pictures. Next up, we have the Mafex Invincible Iron Man. I decided to paint it gold, and I still enjoyed the original red and yellow look, but I personally found it just more appealing to the eyes to look at on the shelf with this gold paintwork. We do have some modifications to the articulation that I went through. Again, same thing I did with Captain America. I just increased that range on the torso so we can crunch forward more. He can also lean back and look up more. And looking up was just kind of done on the collar piece he has going on there. I cut out some of the inner plastic so it's a little thinner now, and he can kind of lean back in the neck a little bit more. I also, for leaning a head back on a neck joint, I do cut off some of the bottom of the head sculpt, so that base of the skull at the back, I do trim some of that plastic away so that he could lean back a little further. And the last little modification I did, this one's actually, I would feel is the most important. I cut away some of the gauntlets. There's kind of like a lip that has a really sharp edge, and it prevents the arm from bending any more than about 90 degrees. So rounding that off a little bit, it does kind of give it a slightly different look from the rest of the red parts. It's not as shiny as it was and not as smooth, but it does open up that articulation more on the arms, which I think is a good trade-off. And up next we have the Incredible Hulk. This is on the 2-pack with Bruce Banner body. This was originally a gray Hulk. I repainted it green, made the pants purple, and did a bunch of work to the body itself to really kind of increase articulation, and I also modified the head sculpts. So the first head sculpt being, this one was actually the straight face, the neutral face. I sculpted kind of a snarl to it, because on the second one, which was the snarling face, I extended the jaw and made it more of a yelling head. As far as articulation goes, I cut away from some of the kind of crotch area there where the hips meet. I wanted to cut away from that so the legs could kick up a bit higher. I also cut some of the top of the foot off so he could kind of bend his foot more towards his knees so he could get into some crazy poses and everything. I also dug out some of the back of the neck so his head could look up, and then I also trimmed the lower part of the biceps so that he could flex his arm at more of a 90-degree angle than he previously could. And as far as the torso goes, I think these are some of the biggest improvements. So I did cut away from some of that lower abdomen piece on the inside so that he could crunch forward a bit more. And then the big thing is the butterfly joints. I gave him forward moving butterfly joints. So I cut away from the chest and then I sculpted more on top of the existing butterfly joints. So I just kind of extended them outward so that he could move his arms inward, and he could actually almost touch his fists completely when moving forward, and they still move back just fine. You just can't push them as far because then you'll start seeing like the gaps and stuff. But otherwise, I think this is fantastic. Next up is Thor. This is on the Ragnarok body. The entire thing has been repainted and re-articulated. So starting off, we just have a lot of like just newer colors and shading and everything. And then obviously we have a wired cape, and I did sculpt a beard onto the head sculpt, being the most, I think, noticeable changes about this figure. As far as the head goes, I did increase the articulation by making some cuts in the hair so he could look back and he could look to the side more, which the wired cape does help with that too, to be able to turn. And all the skins repainted because I also had to sculpt over those pins. I wanted to make him pinless and really just kind of make the look a little more seamless. I also added a new torso joint. So that's a McFarlane lower torso from somebody. I basically modified the whole figure to be able to be compatible with that. I put the discs on top of that lower torso, and I gave him more articulation so he can lean to the side, he can lean back more, he can lean forward more, which is the most important thing to me because this figure really couldn't lean forward at all. Next up, we have Moon Knight. This one is probably the least interesting. It is the closest to the stock figure, at least I think, because there's almost no paintwork done on it at all, and the changes are very minimal. But I did repaint all of the gold on the figure, as well as giving him some new weapons, because he didn't come with two of those crescent moon weapons, which I think was just weird. So I gave him two, made him gold. I think they stand out a little more. I also gave him a massive wired cape. I think every single figure who has a cape should have a wired cape. I'm tired of sculpted capes. I'm tired of non-wired capes. Every single figure that is a character that has a cape should have a wired cape. I think that should be standard. If McFarlane Toys can do it, I know Hasbro can do it too, so I want to see that on everything. I also did increase the range of articulation on the head. I hate a disc hinge, so I think this is still terrible articulation because he can barely turn to the head in like a natural looking way. But yeah, I did cut away from some of the hood sculpt so that he could look up and down a little bit more at least, so I have some increased range there. And for my last modification, I just took this staff, cut it in half, added some magnets, so now the staff can break into two pieces, so you can kind of have like some batons, I guess. I've seen Moon Knight like that in the comics, so I wanted to make that happen as well. And that's it for my custom Avengers for now. You know, at some point I'll get a Hawkeye and a Black Widow, and I'll expand this team even more. But yeah, I'll have more videos about my customs coming soon. X-Men, DC, bunch of stuff like that. So let me know if you enjoyed this video with a like, a comment, whatever. If you want me to do more of a video format rather than just kind of a slideshow with a voiceover, let me know that as well. This is just something I'm trying out. I think it was a little more easy to follow. Like, you don't have my hands moving around everything and just trying to get everything into position. It's all there, you know? So if you liked it, let me know. If you didn't, let me know.